All right, we got Andrea Lee versus Macy Barber. Macy Barber's on a 3-fight win streak. She is the favorite by minus 270 over plus 220. Now, I think these numbers are wrong. I think this fight is really close and razor thin and could go either way depending on if they're able to imply their game plan. I feel like Andrea Lee is the better fighter and Macy Barber is the better athlete. They both have a game plan that could work if they imply it right, though. Talk about Andrea Lee for a second. I've watched a lot of her fights. I think she's in her prime. She doesn't have very good wrestling or takedown defense. She throws a lot of strikes that allow her to get taken down. She welcomes being taken down because she's got good jiu-jitsu and transitions and scrambles. It's just her wrestling isn't that good. So I just don't know if Macy's going to be able to get her to the ground or not. But she's got a really long reach. I like her reach. If this fight stays at range, I like her chances there. But Macy likes to pressure fight and push in real hard. If Macy wants to make this a boring wall and stall kind of cage fight, I think she might be able to do that because Andrea does allow herself to get pushed up against the cage a little bit. Lee's record's kind of deceiving. She had 3 losses in a row that I think she arguably won. Modafari was a close decision. I thought they gave Modafari the win because of the control time. She didn't win on damage. And then the 2 split decisions with Murphy and Joanna Wood, I thought she won. So, and then you had the Modafari Macy Barber fight where she got injured and early in the fight. So it's hard to even judge off that. But she was taking her down and controlling her before the knee injury happened. So, where I think Andrea Lee won against Modafari. Now her last opponent, Jessica I lost to Joanna Wood, like badly, and got beat by Calvillo, who got dominated by Andrea Lee. Now Barber beat I, but she had a good close competitive fight with her, where Lee dominated Calvillo. And when you're looking at De La Rosa, she's not that impressive record. Doesn't age too well. I just think that she kind of bullied her around. But there's moments inside that fight where De La Rosa really had some moments that made Barber look green. She often just looks like a Tasmanian devil in there, and she makes a ton of mistakes. And I think if they get into some scrambles, Andrea Lee could catch her in a submission or really hurt her in some transitions. Because like I said, Andrea Lee's the more technical fighter. She's got Golden Gloves boxing. She's got a brown, purple belt in jiu-jitsu. She's got a judo background, where Macy Barber seems more like she just kind of picked this fight game up because she's got a lot of power in her hands. She's very athletic and keep up a good cardio pace. And that's where I think it could be a problem for Andrea Lee is the pace and pressure that Macy Barber likes to put up. Now if Barber can hurt her and keep her down, then she'll beat her. But Andrea Lee does have a problem with a cardio issue. She doesn't pace herself quite so well. She can make it a full 3 rounds, but I've noticed that she loses a bit of her power in rounds 2 or 3. And I think if she loses her power in 2 or 3, that Barber could end up like really start to bullying her around. But I could be wrong. So I do think Andrea Lee's going to have to hurt her to equalize that effect of the fight. And then you have Andrea Lee's last fight, right, where she lost to Rajal, but I think Rajal took a break for 1 year and then came back looking jacked, and that was a really close fight. She almost finished Rajal in the first round. She head kicked her, or she countered her with the left hook and then head kicked her and then jumped all over her. And that was a super close competitive fight. All of Andrea Lee's losses, none of them have like beaten her. And that's what Macy Barber likes to try to do, all wild like. And I just don't know if that's going to work against Andrea Lee. Now she could win with like just control time and domination, which is kind of like how Andrea Lee's lost her fights. But yeah, this fight is not a minus 270 favorite. I mean, I could see a split decision being a highly likely possibility. But I just think Macy Barber's record's a little overrated. De La Rosa's not much. Jessica I retired after her fight. Then the other girl fought, Miranda Maverick. And Miranda Maverick's wins haven't aged that well, and so. But I think Andrea Lee's just exiting her prime, while Maycee Barber is just entering her prime. So it's going to be a great fight. If Andrea Lee can turn this into a fight where it's at range and throw a lot of powerful shots that could possibly hurt Barber, and have her shoot for some sloppy takedowns and keep it away from the cage and possibly get her into a submission and a transition, then she'll beat her. But if she gets pushed up against the cage and and Barber's just throwing like heavy elbows and shooting for takedowns, pushing, shooting for takedowns, doing the Usman pressure fighting, which she's very good at. She's very violent, and I like watching her fight. But Lee's very tricky, and she doesn't like staying in places, and she likes scrambling and working, and she's very strong herself, deceptively. So I don't know who to pick on this one, but because of the betting lines, I would take Andrea Lee in this one. I think that's just too much. Even though the money lines have moved a little bit, I just think Andrea Lee's got the better pedigree here. And I think Araja would beat Barber, but I could be wrong. And if Maycee Barber wins this fight, I think that's a good fight for her to get matched up with. Stylistically, that would be a great fight. But yeah, who do you guys got in this fight? I would take Andrea Lee as the underdog, and a straight bet, it's pretty much a coin toss. Oh man, I just think Lee's faced the better competition. Barber's record looks a little deceiving. It's a perfect matchup to see where they're at. This could be Lee's last shot at getting back to the top, and this is going to be Barber's hump that she needs to hurdle to get to the next stage. So, great fight. Don't know who I'm going to take on this one. I'm going to choose right before the fight probably. But that's my assessment. That's my breakdown.